on this computer. All right, man.
Oh.
You ready to get live and wild with it?
Let's do it.
Hey, man. I'll try and refrain from that accent that we were talking about last time. Hey, yo,
It's going to happen no matter what, man.
I know it's going to come out. God damn it. Cool, man. Thanks for doing this, by the way.
Dude, yeah, thanks for having me, man.
I was excited to get you back on.
Yeah. A lot has happened, man.
Last time I talked to you, just to catch everybody up so they don't have to go back and listen to your last podcast unless they feel so inclined. Last time I talked to you, you were like on the cusp of breaking out and doing your own thing. I think maybe you were bartending and also working for a realtor.
Yeah, so I think I was doing I just didn't like doing mortgage loans. So I was doing I was working for this company just being a loan originator, which was like just wasn't really my thing.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about barbecue the whole time. So yeah, I was still doing that stuff. And I think that I was doing one of those lunch runs that I would do amongst my friends, and you were one of them, and you were like, "Hey, you want to hop on the podcast?"
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I met you in your trailer, and we just had at it. It was just for the moment, man.
Yeah, I was still living in the RV at the time. That was
yeah. That was fun, man.
Yeah, so you were doing lunch runs. You're basically making barbecue for numerous hours, throwing them in little containers, and you could sign up to be like on basically like a butcher blocks kind of membership thing where you could.
Kinda, yeah. It was it more originated just from me like wanting to practice a bunch and spending all my money on meat, and I was like, because I'm buying these briskets and I'm buying like pork butts and all this wood and whatever, and I'm like, it's so much work and so much like practice that I was like, I need to net this out somehow. So my idea was just like, okay, well, I know a lot of people that would probably just want a random lunchbox, so I'll just sell it to my friends. So that's how it kind of started. And then I got this good group of text message folks, and those things kind of picked up, but there's only so much you can do in the day. It was really just to offset the cost, and I can practice.
Oh, nice, man. Didn't know that was your motive, but that's smart, intuitive.
Yeah, I was losing money. So.
Yeah,
I wasn't making that much money in mortgages, man, surprisingly.
Yeah,
I wasn't very good at it. So
it's tedious too. There's a lot of paperwork, and if you're not like an analytical kind of a person, then it's not gonna, not gonna
work
for you. Well, let's talk about
sell it right. So whatever.
Drinking a soda water right before the podcast is it's a real good idea. Let's talk about just like right off the bat, the money that goes into it. I will walk into a barbecue place with just like $100 bill in my hand, ready to spend it, because let's break down some costs. Like you've got rub, foil, meat, wood, sauce, mustard, marinade possibly, ACV, apple cider vinegar, and
all that stuff.
Yeah, most expensive.
So all that stuff.
The most expensive. Your time is the most expensive thing.
Dude, yeah.
It takes so much time. So, and that's like not even getting into like pickles and sides and dishes and cutlery and shit. So, yeah, man, don't get all snooty patooty whenever a brisket costs $11 a pound or something like that. Like just appreciate that you didn't have to get up at 4 a.m. to start a fire.
Right. And I was more sensitive to that than like even like my friends, I'd be like, I was trying to cut them deals, and I would do it pretty cheap, but like all that stuff, like you said, they're cheap ingredients, man. Like apple cider vinegar, you can get like half a gallon of that stuff for like $1.50, and briskets pretty cheap. Like, I mean, they're getting a little bit more like bougie now because they're the thing, but they used to be like $2 a pound. But yeah, it's the time, man. What's that?
Don't shoot yourself in the foot, man. I was trying to set you up and be like, yeah, my barbecue comes at a premium. I'm just kidding.
Dude, I'm not even gonna lie. That's the thing about barbecue, man. You're right. It's the time. It's not the ingredients. Like, I mean, I do like to go for the good ingredients, but they're cuts that aren't traditionally, considered high-end cuts, but barbecue's kind of made it that way. So
Yeah, barbecue.
yeah, it's a lot of time though.
Sure, man. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Bring me up to speed on like where are you at right now? What are you doing? Oh, let's introduce yourself and tell us what you do for a living. I forgot to do that. That's usually what I start with.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, I'm Graham Penninger. What's so funny about that? Yeah, so I usually am bartending, but right now I've kind of been forced into doing this barbecue thing, and I'm usually just like, we bartended at Native together, but that's been my thing for years. We've been in the food and beverage industry, but just in bars. So now I'm just totally focused on food because obviously bars are closed.
Yeah, man. So COVID hit. You were probably still bartending at the time, and did that like kind of push you in this direction? What happened?
Yeah. So COVID hit, and I was actually working this. I've just been bouncing around, man. I was working this sales job for a software company for a while, just to try the corporate life out again. And that ended up lasting 4 days, and I was out of there. I had to get out. So I fell back on my bar network. I went back, and South by was coming up. I was like, I'm good. I'll just go down to West 6, talk to some homies, get some shifts. I'll make South by money real quick. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But we all know what happened with that. So then I was just kind of sitting around, and like a couple of my good friends, it really hit me like I needed to start doing this again, because a couple of my good friends were just like, what the hell are you doing, dude?
Yeah, why not?
Like they kind of like scolded me. Like,
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Why not?
Why aren't you cooking?
Definitely, man.
So that kind of hit me like by like the third good friend of mine that told me that. They were just like, I was like, you're right, man. And then I just started taking every opportunity I could, man. I was just like, okay, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to say yes to everything. Yeah. So I had that mentality going in. I'm just going to take catering deals. And then they started rolling in, and I was like, yes, 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 yes. And that's just kind of how you get some traction going, and then it just rolls from there. But yeah.
That's how you do it, man. That's how you do it. Where are you at right now? Like, what are you?
Right now, so I'm working with Revolution Spirits. We are trying to set up their food program. So the thing that COVID has done for me is, I don't know if the audience knows about the 51% rule, but us in the bar industry, there's something called the 51% rule.
Yeah. So
if you sell over, oh god,
I was just gonna
sell over 51% in booze, then you're a different classification, right? You're considered a bar.
Yeah.
And right now,
sorry, dude. I was just going to give some clarity. Revolution Spirits is a distillery and a tasting room for anybody that might not know. And you're set up there, and that brings us into like the 51%. If you're selling more than 51% booze, it puts you in a different category where you have to follow certain guidelines.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Sorry, man.
And having to do with COVID, I mean, all those 51 and over percent places are closed. They can't be open right now. So really, I come in, that kind of makes someone like me an asset to raise that non-alcoholic revenue to allow for that 49% of the alcohol to be higher, if that makes sense. Yeah. So then you can classify yourself like that, and you can open, because right now, no one's doing on-premises. Like none of those 51 and over percent are doing the on-premise drink sales, because they can't without the food thing, or without the non-alcohol. Yeah, without the food thing. So
people following those rules, or people just like, I saw some.
There's a couple that are just like, hey, like when you get audited, it's gonna be weird.
I've seen some shady shit online. So like they're basically documenting it also, but some places that I'm familiar with in Austin that are like, hey, get a gallon of margaritas. Like, just fucking come by.
Yeah.
We'll put a straw in it for you if you want.
Yeah.
I don't know, $56. Come
They're
get
like,
it.
the tequila costs 2 cents. The mixer costs $20.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing it.
Yeah. I was curious if people are like kind of following the rules, or did they like loosen things up because I don't know. Is the governor more like, just kind of don't look and let everybody try and survive?
No, man, it's a tedious process, dude.
Still
Trying to get that approval, and then they just loosened it up a little bit. You know, I'm not exactly. They're making it easier. There's some specific guidelines that go into that, but people are like kind of struggling out here, man. Like, all the bartenders are out of work, and just like there's no real end in sight. People are still hanging out with each other, you know, just like big groups and whatever. So
yeah, man.
we need to do something.
I hear you. There's definitely a need for some guidance, as opposed to like, hey, just you're on your own. If you're your own particular state, just get out there and good luck, chap. I see a lot of people,
exactly,
like,
man.
A lot of people, they're limping, man. Like, they're just like, they're clocking in, they're trying to do it. And just speaking for New Mexico, there's a lot of places that I think are just barely afloat, being able to set their tables and chairs outside. But come the cold snap, when it's unbearable to be outside, it's kind of the opposite of Texas right now. It's way too hot to be there where you're at. But
I'm dying over here.
Once that's over with, I think that's going to be like the nail in the coffin. That's going to be, a lot of people are going to get fucked come this fall or
yeah. Like once this nice patio weather goes away. Yeah. And it really doesn't in Austin. I just feel like people are going to keep, but I don't know. Like, it's just people can't resist that patio weather and once the sun comes out, man, people got a day drink and they just got to do it. So
I had to get out of Austin because of that. That's all I would do.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, my liver was like, whew, where are we going? Thank God. I barely made it out. Jesus.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah, you got out quick, man.
I did. Living in the RV made it really easy. I just kind of like put it in drive.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it makes moving pretty easy. Just make sure nothing falls off the shelf and breaks, and then you're good. Let's talk about barbecue, man. Tell me some things that you've learned as far as, or let me be a little more specific. I don't know.
I can just talk about barbecue for days, man.
You can? Yeah.
But go ahead.
Just, okay, how about this? Let's pretend I just bought a basic barbecue setup. What did I just buy?
If it were me,
yeah,
I would buy, in Central Texas, it's all about the offset smokers, man. So like I would probably go out to Home Depot and just get a cheap offset for $150. And a lot of people are starting off with things like Traegers and like green eggs, you know, these really expensive things. You really don't need all that.
Yeah.
You just need something that'll burn an offset fire. And when I'm talking about, that's just my preferred method. So this is just all my opinion. But
no, I treasure it because you've put the time in. Like you've gone through trials and tribulations and spent your own money and figured out what works. So I'm here to listen.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So if it were me, I get $150 offset. And the advantage of an offset smoker is because you can burn a live fire as opposed to having just coals underneath something. And that helps the smoke, and it creates something called blue smoke, which is all, you know, the barbecue pros are really just looking for that blue smoke, which is just a thin smoke that you get from a clean burning fire. And you just hold your temps right, and you get something really good. But you can do that on an offset smoker. I was serving those pork butts when I came by and did the podcast, because you bought a plate that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was off my Kingsford, man. That was off my $150 Kingsford from Home Depot. Man.
It was a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
If
Uh,
I miss
I guess
nothing.
what I'm trying to say is it doesn't cost that much money to start. They want to buy the things like the Traegers and like big green eggs, but those things cost like anywhere from 800 to like 1,500 or something
Right.
crazy.
Yeah,
But
man. Not necessary. And as far as like anything else to buy to set up, let's say I went out and got that offset smoker, and now what do I need? I need to get, and now I'm headed to the grocery store. I need foil. Yeah,
yeah,
I
you need some
need
foil. You need a rub you like.
basic
And
rub.
there's plenty of recipes online.
Okay, just
There's
like
plenty of recipes online. I mean, salt and pepper is great, dude. Like you can just people overthink stuff. Like I said, salt and pepper is great. People can overthink the complicated rubs, and a lot of times that fine dust rub it'll block a lot of the smoke. So in Central Texas, man, offset smoker, salt and pepper. Don't overcomplicate it, and get that local wood. And here it's easy to get because we have stores like HEB that sell whole pork butts and whole Packer briskets just like on the shelf.
yeah,
But if you're going somewhere else, you might have to dig a little deeper.
yeah.
But yeah, man,
I found that.
I would just say that cheap offset, and then get a good rub, get some foil or some butcher paper. You're gonna have to wrap the meat eventually, but we can get into all that. But YouTube's your best friend.
Yeah,
Cheap offset,
yeah.
decent meat, and get some real wood and burn that, some charcoal.
Yeah,
You
man.
got it.
That's the other thing. We talked last time about oak or white oak, which is fairly expensive. Now I'm in the wood. I'm living in the wood industry now. I've been doing some carpentry, so it's kind of funny that we met back up, and you're
Yeah,
super like nose in the air about what woods you're using, and I'm I don't want to say super versed on, but I know the
yeah,
difference between like some certain like hardwoods and
yeah,
where some woods are centrally located. For instance, that Central Texas barbecue comes from white oak. Like that's where you get a lot of that flavor, as opposed to I think a lot of people think that mesquite is commonly used and
yeah,
pecan.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
How crucial?
So
Go ahead.
think about I'm totally into wood. Be, I've become like kind of obsessed with it.
That's it, man. It all starts with like that's
But
the building
yeah,
block, right? Like it all starts with wood. Like it all starts with what
yeah,
wood you have and like what cuts, what size. Talk a little bit about that. Like what
yeah.
you can't
So
just
yeah, wood. It's super complicated. Like if you go to the store, you're gonna get some kiln dried wood, and it's easy to burn. You know, if you go to some place like Academy or and other places, you might have a sporting goods store where they sell whole logs. Um,
and the
but
kiln
what I
the
found
kiln
with that, they killed all the oils, man. They killed it all. Like there's none of the good like smoke left in there. So I think part of the fun, man, is going out, figuring out where you can get some local wood, and if you know like a rancher or something, to have like a win-win. This is just on a large scale. Like obviously the home cooks might not do this. But what I've been doing is just being like figuring out where the fallen trees are at, because they're a nuisance to people,
right.
and it's like gold to me.
Definitely.
So just identifying. I've been totally into identifying what wood's what, and you spot out some oak, and you're like, ooh, like, and your eye just kind of clicks to it now more than before. So what I
Yeah.
use is oak and mesquite. That's what I've always used.
So it's
Half oak, half mesquite.
great flavor profile from those guys. In the kiln dried stuff, you lose a lot of that flavor. And if you were just gonna go chop down, like if you, oh, I know where there's a white oak tree, I'm gonna go chop it down. It takes about 2 hours to dry out. I'm sorry, 2 years for it to dry out. So
Yeah.
well, I guess a lot of
Well,
people
it takes a while.
gravitate towards it. You don't want your wood to be too wet. It's a weird balance, man. So I think wood
Yeah.
is it's the base of, it's like the building block before you get started.
Yeah.
Like you got to get a little well
People,
versed on the wood, maybe
you gotta know your woods.
a little bit.
You gotta, yeah. But people get obsessed with rubs and stuff. Like people are like, what rub do you use? I'm like, dude, forget the rub.
What kind of boner do
Like
you
salt
want?
and pepper.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, man.
You
S&P,
know?
my steaks, for instance, is always salt and pepper, and I think people get really overwhelmed with the amount of salt that I put on my steak beforehand. But kosher salt, that's a
Yeah.
key ingredient. It's got to be kosher. Don't use the really fine stuff. You'll oversalt it, and it's
Oh yeah.
and it's kind of gross too.
Yeah. People don't understand that kosher salt, you can lay it on, you know?
Oh yeah, man! You have to put a sheet over it. And a
Yeah.
lot of it cooks up and like becomes bring that smoke in. It'll become the bark, depending on what you're cooking. So I'm sorry, man. I keep feeling like I'm jumping in the spotlight. I'm like, oh, hey, hey, hey.
No,
I cook
meat
steak.
is meat and fire, dude. It's exciting.
That's
Yeah.
exciting stuff.
Everyone likes that. So yeah, I just think that like I said, people get all into, you know, the rubs and everything, but really your flavor's coming from a clean fire, and you got to season it right. And a lot of people just don't put enough salt on, for instance, or they don't pre-season it right.
Yeah.
Those are the things that are going to set you apart more than your rub. I mean, yeah, that's going to add some good flavors to it, and you should have a good one. But what I'm trying to say is that you should learn how to burn a fire. If you really want to do barbecue, it's not just like cooking a thing in the oven. You got to figure out how to source your wood, and if you're going to do like cut wood, you can't be too green. And what I mean by green is just like too like recently cut down. So I do at least 6 months seasoning from a green tree in the Texas summer heat. You know, it's got to be, and then you get that, you kind of feel it out, and you get that clink to it that you like. And if you ever pick up a log that's super heavy, you know you're gonna have a hard day, man. I had some green wood that I bought, and I got it from this supplier, and I ended up being out there for like 19 hours, man, just like struggling with this fire. And I didn't know as much as I know now, but man, those days, that was bad.
So if you were to like give a crash course, like, I don't know, week-long class on barbecue, would day one be over fires? Like, let me get your fire right, picking out wood, the right size of wood, because if you throw smaller pieces in, they'll flare up and you'll get a big burst of heat. That could char the ends of an expensive cut or inexpensive cut, just like it basically ruin the whole process if you're throwing little sticks in there. Consistency, as far as like the length goes, and like and the girth of the log, super important.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like hot spots, cold spots on your grill, you want to know where those are. Do you use like a little laser gun? How do you find out the temperature on your grill? Like,
no, so I got this thing right here, man.
let me see.
Hey, check it out.
Nice.
So this thing right now, we're a little low, but this is like the pit temp. I just have, these are probes in the grill. So like I got the pit temp right here. It's backwards, but
it looks
and
like
then
a remote control. Is it?
Meat temp. What's that?
It looks like a remote control. So you got the probe in the grill, and it.
So yeah,
and
it goes to the hub out there at the pit, and then one's in the meat and one's the ambient temperature.
Yeah.
So that's how I've always measured it. But this thing is, if I want to do other stuff, it helps out a lot.
Nice, man.
But dude, I'm surprised you actually know about those the log girth and the length and all that. You need to know about wood girth, man. You need to know about that stuff.
Dude, I know. And we're both smiling right now because we're using a lot of innuendos. I almost did a podcast with the YouTube video of the Varsity Blues teacher when she's about to go over sex ed. She's like, okay, let's all say it together. Penis, 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 vagina, vagina.
Yeah, let's just get it all out, dude.
Yeah.
Wood, girth.
Wood, girth. We're going to be dropping logs. We're going to be smoking
Yeah.
butts. We're going to be, we're going to have super hard meat. We're going to have, just go ahead pickles. We're going to talk about pickles. Big meat, soft meat. I don't know.
Soft meat, hard meat.
Hard meat.
You don't want to get your, Anyway.
Yeah, so anyways, we got all that out. Girthy, wood, and size.
But let me make a point out of that instead of just saying like penis jokes and stuff.
Yeah. Please.
Wood girth, yeah. So like that is a huge thing. So the balance between a coal bed and your live fire is really what you're looking at. So to answer your question, day one I would for sure go over. I think I would go over fire first because I'm actually about to train someone this week.
Yeah, good man.
Yes, yeah. So like,
train me like you're gonna train them. Like, tell me a little bit. So day one's gonna be fire and wood and.
Well, there's gonna be one day because this guy. I mean, so basically,
you're poking holes.
We have
hypotheticals.
Here. We've Jester King Brewery has allowed us to use their kitchen as a commissary kitchen.
Dude, that's huge. That's another cost that I didn't even factor in. The cost of a commissary because you're going to have to prepare most of this stuff somewhere. That's
right.
Bad.
So
Jester King is close to where Revolution Spirits is, which is where you are.
Exactly.
And that's crucial, man. That's awesome. I'm super happy to hear that. Sorry to take the win.
Yeah, thanks, man. I was like, I'm still kind of like, I'm super excited about it. You know, I'm going to train their chef on how to use the smoker. So,
and they were doing pizzas out there. So is that like the?
Oh, they're still doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Great, like stone oven pizzas. So he's already got an idea about fire. Like they got a good grasp on fire, right?
Cool.
It's a different vessel that I'm showing them instead of because they burn a live fire in there. It's like 1,000 degrees in that oven. Totally. They're just burning oak. So but yeah, day one would be about to go back. You gotta have the balance between the coal bed and the live fire because basically what that live fire is going to do is going to go down and go into coals. And if you just have a coal bed, all your coals are just going to dissipate at once, and they're going to go through that grate, and they're going to all be gone at once. You're going to be rolling. You're going to think you're at a good temperature, and if you don't set up to reimburse that coal bed from the live fire, from the actual wood that's going to turn into coals, then it's all going to go out at once. There's just these little things that you need to know, and you need to screw things up all the time just to know little nuances like that. Nice. So it's just a constant process. I'm feeding logs. It's going to turn to coal. You get those good oils coming off of the logs, whereas the coal burns super clean. Just that keeping that balance is super important.
Totally.
I can go on and on, but
take me to the next step. We got our coal bed, our live fire. Let's pretend like you've got me for a week. What is day two? What do we go over day two?
Day two would probably be trimming stuff and just pre-seasoning and the importance of that. Because one thing I see in a lot of restaurants or YouTube videos and whatever is people are like, okay, you got your rub and you got your pit fired up, and we're going to take a 12-pound brisket and season it 2 seconds before we put it on the pit.
Yeah.
And I never understood that. And some people even like advocate for it. So I'm just like, no. And again, you like all these YouTube videos are focused on the rub and on that, and it's like you're not telling them the most important part, man.
I get frustrated with cooking shows sometimes where they're like, hey, we're gonna take this and we're gonna do this and we're gonna throw it in there. I'm like, whoa, somebody that doesn't know. Luckily, I've got a little bit of knowledge. But like somebody doesn't know what they're doing, like you forgot to tell them to like preheat the oven and to use this type of oil because it's got a higher burning point than that type of oil. People are just going to walk in the kitchen willy-nilly and throw it in the oven. Get out of here, man.
Dude.
I share your frustration as far as like, oh, you just get it, you rub it on, throw it on the grill, close it, drink a beer, drunk, wake up in the morning, take it off.
Drink a beer, drunk, Yeah, don't get drunk while you're doing barbecue. It doesn't work out, man.
It takes so long. It's a long game, man. It's like
Yeah.
the bartenders I used to work with that would just come in and take a shot. I'm like, dude, it's happy hour, man. You're here till 4 a.m.
Oh
What
yeah.
are you doing, dude? Long game.
Yeah, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
that's good
it's
advice.
it's just a bunch of false information all over the place, and they just leave out the most important parts, I think. And it's a super detail oriented process. You gotta be obsessed with those small details. Like the other week, there's been some weird stuff going on with COVID and like quality of product. I've found that companies are just kind of throwing stuff out. Just like the product's kind of like diminishing a little bit. Like I got some kosher salt that had these granules that were like super big, you know?
Yeah.
And like I mean, just that threw off my whole week because I oversalted some stuff and like certain stuff just like, because I was questioning like how much was getting absorbed. So like I put more on and then it was like just screwed stuff up. So like even like the grain of the salt is like, I like to be simple, but I like to be very like detail oriented, and I think that's super necessary, especially if you're like in the middle of Central Texas trying to do something that everyone else is doing.
Right, man. And it is crucial because you've got a slab of meat that's like sometimes a foot to 2 feet long, but you may only get served as a consumer a small, like a couple of inches of that. And if you didn't season it evenly throughout, it's going to fuck up your barbecue experience. So I think that's a good thing to be as far as like meticulous with your seasoning. Make sure you cover every square inch because that's how it gets divvied out, is kind of per inch per se.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you just gotta, yeah. You
So,
can't be like, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Like a bunch of it'll be all right. It turns out to be not all right and not great, you know, and not exceptional, which is what people want to be. They wanted that wow factor from the barbecue. If you're just like regular, like, you know, any barbecue's gonna be good, you know, like if somebody does it in their backyard, it's not gonna be like bad. I mean, you can make it bad, but it's most likely it's gonna be good. But to get it to like excellent, you gotta be like crazy obsessed with it.
Preach. Yeah, I'm behind you 100% on that as far as like, it's going to be all right. But I mean, that's going to be what sets you apart.
Yeah.
Aaron Franklin is fucking world famous barbecue guy. There's a reason there's a line out the door. He's done it for a while. He's kind of got it down, man. Do you ever look?
Yeah, he's holding out on YouTube though.
Oh, is that right?
I know he's holding out on YouTube, man. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into it, but it just seems like, hey, here's your rub, throw it on. Okay, good. Have a beer.
I haven't seen his YouTube videos. Is he like holding back a little bit? I
feel like he's holding out a little bit on some secrets, man.
He's not gonna give his secrets away, man. He's not gonna play everything.
To that, man. You ask me anything though. I'm not comparing myself to Aaron Franklin, but like I just don't like the barbecue secret thing, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll tell you if you want the recipe, I'll give you the recipe. Like I'll tell you to a T. Yeah. Make it like this. This is these are the steps. Not barbecue.
Yeah, because I know. I mean, how did I learn it? I just like picked chefs' brains all day. Over at Native, we had some good chefs over there, man. Like,
yeah, man. I use that wealth of knowledge as well and plucked from their brains. Same thing, man. It was, I don't know, and it's like a brotherhood. It's like, oh, you want to learn how to make risotto? I'll sit down with you for 2 hours and I'll show you like step by step. Even though it takes 20 minutes, like it's gonna take you. Bring a notepad. Like you're gonna need notes. And I was super appreciative of that. All right, moving along.
I was just standing next to you with the notepad, man. When we were working the day shift, I literally had a notepad and I was just taking notes.
Really?
So yeah,
nice.
Those guys were good, man. Like Gabe Hernandez. Even to this day, he's still giving me pointers. And he's like, the one thing he said to me that kind of stuck. He was like, hey, I was like, if there's anything I can do for you, man, because I feel like he was just giving me a bunch of knowledge and I wasn't. He already knew all the stuff I knew, kinda, and I was like, he was like, hey, just push it forward, you know, like, you know, pay it forward.
Hey,
Like, tell other people how to do this stuff. That's all I ask.
your microphone went in your shirt.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it went like behind you.
Did I just miss that? Did you just miss that?
The audio it sounds like you're under a pillow. Pull it
Still?
up. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
A little bit. A little bit.
A little bit.
How we doing?
I don't know what's going on. It's weird. How you doing?
Not great. Let me figure this out. Hold on.
All right. It's all good. I can pull this out of the audio at least. This will still be on YouTube, but yeah, it's weird. Went through like a patchy thing. Tell me what you had for breakfast. Oh, dude, I can't hear you at all. Oh no!
Lose you?
Oh yeah, you're back. You're back. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Moving forward. Sorry about that. So Gabe just said like, pay it forward. Like, hook somebody else up.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's all about teaching people. So like, it's just like, he just kind of spilled the beans on all his rest. Like, whatever I wanted to know, man, he would let me know.
Yeah.
And it's just this kind of stubborn way to go about it. I think keeping all your secrets, and that's just, I like teaching people about it. And the community aspect of barbecue is super cool to me, and like that's the biggest part about it. Without it, it's just you being in your backyard, like working, being super hot, and just like doing a 12-hour cook by yourself. Like it's not as fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of solitude that comes with barbecue. It takes some time.
Yeah.
Tell me about so we got fire first day, trimming meat and seasoning. What comes next?
I guess just like putting those two together.
Putting those two together.
Putting those two together, like cooking the actual process of cooking it.
Yeah, then comes the time, the most expensive part that we were talking about, sitting there and babysitting it. We talked about apple cider vinegar. Do you use apple cider vinegar to kind of help along the process?
Yeah, right now when I'm cooking these pork butts, I use so the cooking process really with barbecue is kind of a two-part process. One is getting that smoke flavor on there, and then the second part is getting the tenderness of the meat. That's how I break it down. So when we talk about foil or butcher paper or whatever, first part of it is just doing it uncovered, putting the meat on the grate with nothing else, burning your fire, getting that wood flavor and the smoke, and your bark going and whatever kind of color you want on that meat.
Yeah.
And once you're satisfied with that, and there's certain like tells of when you should wrap the meat, but you can wrap it in your preferred thing, whether that be foil or a lot of people use butcher paper. I've used foil for everything because I like having those juices locked in. So you'll do that, and then you'll get it up to a certain temperature, and like there's just certain temperatures for certain meats, and once you get it there, that fat is rendered out, and it just becomes delicious barbecue.
Fat equals flavor, man.
Patient and get it to that point, you know. But right now, when I'm cooking the pork butts, they're unwrapped. I'm going out there, and when we're done talking, I'm gonna spray them down with apple juice. I just use straight apple juice. Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
I never really use apple cider vinegar. I just for spraying. So it's just I spray it down with the spray bottle apple juice.
I've heard stories of like sugar burning too quickly, and I guess it depends on your technique. Do you dilute it at all, or is it just straight on there? Like maybe you get a better crust. Nice.
Put it on there, but you got the offset smoker, so it's your fire's way over here.
Yeah.
If you were doing like a coal bed or like direct heat, yeah, you'd probably burn that thing. Yeah, too much sugar, you can burn it, but I'm not scared of that. I just think I just put it far away enough. So, and then, so yeah, day two, man, you're cooking, get the smoke flavor, you get the tenderness. There's little things that you learn along the way, like I put a water pan right where the hot spot on the grill is, and that just keeps humidity rolling. And
you end up with like a way bigger piece of meat at the end, because over the course of a 12-hour cook, if you don't have any humidity going in there, it's just drying up.
Yeah.
So
Oh man, that's crucial. I didn't even think to do that.
Yeah. So the first couple briskets I did, brisket shrinks like hell anyway. And like they were turning out from like 12-pound briskets to just being like a tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And the flavor was all right, but man, it was just tough because it tightened up. So I figured out that water pan method and just had the humidity rolling through there. And that's when I started really getting addicted to doing stuff, because I was turning out, good products. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
Do you go back down?
Yeah, little stuff like that.
Say that again?
Just little stuff like that. Like you gotta, if you see something, I think it's crucial to just screw stuff up. You gotta mess up a lot of meat. And it sucks, but you gotta kind of like that. You gotta kind of like losing. You're like, oh.
Totally,
like,
man.
Get to like failing. Just know that you're gonna fail, or you're gonna have a subpar product at some point. I still do that.
It's a labor of love, man. It's gonna take a lot of your time, and if you don't like it, then you're not gonna survive.
I was comparing it with the Revolution dudes to like gin making, distilling. A lot of people want to, just in the same way, a lot of people want to learn barbecue. A lot of people want to learn how to distill, and once the kind of gloriness of it wears off, once the that initial like, oh, I'm a distiller, or like, I know how to do barbecue or whatever. And
yeah.
the coolness wears off, man. Around hour 16 or whatever, you're just like, I hate this.
Yeah, man.
But there's something that kicks in for me. I'm just like, when you're all sweaty and dirty and it's just like, you feel like you're going to die, especially it's 104 out right now.
Yeah, man, it's hot in Texas. The only thing that I miss about Texas is the brisket, like the fucking barbecue.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, what are you working with over there, man?
There's no such thing. You got to just create it. Like there's no such thing as barbecue. And if there is, somebody show me some barbecue that is of decent quality. But I haven't found it yet, man. Nobody's got it down here. So if you want to be big fish in a small pond, come on down to Santa Fe, man.
Hey.
Not to take away from the Revolution. It sounds like you got a pretty solid setup there with the commissary and the Revolution spirits guys and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
congratulations.
We just need approval. Those dudes are amazing, man.
Solid guys.
Like they've had my back all the way. You worked for them.
Yeah.
But it's just these connections I made through bartending that I'm like, I value so much, man. It's all kind of like hitting at once a little bit.
Yeah.
And those guys are just all about it. And they're looking out for me in like a huge way. But it's going to be a win-win.
100%. I feel like I say that so much, but I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Do you have any advice for a vegetarian? What would you say? You spend a lot of time with meat.
I said no zingers, man. Don't hit me with.
Is that a zing?
Right. No. Yeah, I do. I try and make like vegetarian sides. I think about vegetarians. I also, you can't really be picky about it being on the same pit, I'm probably there might be some cross contamination.
What are you gonna do?
But I have been in a situation where it's like you need a vegetarian option a lot of time for catering and all that. I did some jackfruit at a certain point, and that's like kind of like fake pulled pork, and that like hit. A lot of barbecue restaurants, Leroy and Lewis is doing like cauliflower burn ends, which they look great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's super important, man. Especially, to recognize the vegetarian, man. I think it's pretty important right now. As long as they're not like super picky and they don't hate you for doing what you do.
You got to have a little wiggle room in any facet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even if you're like a straight up carnivore, you better be able to eat a few vegetables. All right, like don't just meat and cheese it.
Barbecue. Like the old school barbecue dudes are they're a lot of times they get caught in their ways, and it's just like here's how it's done. No vegetables, like, you know, it's just closed. Sometimes it feels a little closed-minded. It's just like, this is the way we've always done it, and you know, it's not going to change. So
Yeah. You gotta be malleable, man. You gotta be able to bend and move, to shake and shimmy. I don't know what the terminology is, but yeah, you gotta.
Well, it's going that way in Austin too. So like people are doing more and more of that, and I think that's the new wave of things. And yeah, vegetarian. If a vegetarian has a good review about your barbecue restaurant, like you kind of that's good. That's good PR there, man.
Yeah. His smoked eggplant was primo.
Yeah.
That's good, man. So I kind of dig the advice you've been giving as far as like, you don't need a huge setup. $150 will get you going. Get your coal bed right, get your wood right. As far as like the length and girth goes, be consistent with it. Use a hardwood. You don't want something that's going to flash up and burn quickly, and not be around like a cedar. Cedar's pretty quick to burn.
Well, there's sap in that. I mean, you don't want anything that has like a weird flavor. Like you want fruit wood, like most hardwoods. But something like if you did pine, you would have sticky, disgusting meat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Don't just burn anything. Make sure you know. There's a bunch of stuff that good barbecue comes from, but like usually places have that local thing that you can burn.
Yeah.
So yeah. Don't just go for it. Like I got this 2x4. I'll throw it on there.
I got this construction lumber that I'm gonna
wood. Real wood.
It's wood, right? Trim meat. You gotta school yourself on how to trim some meat. YouTube videos, and there's books out there. Talk to a butcher, and then seasoning, and then of course the time and babysitting of that indirect heat. Taking little breaks, spritzing it with your apple juice, or do you put it in a spray bottle? Do you how do you?
Yeah, I just have one that I use for food.
How often do you do that? How often do you open it up? And every couple of hours, or
about every hour, depending on what it is, though, because like with spraying, it's gonna kind of like screw up your bark a little bit. Like it's not gonna allow that super thick bark to develop on it. Like I don't spray briskets because they don't get that black nice bark, but I have the water pan rolling in there. But for something like pork butts, I've always sprayed them just to get a little extra sweetness on there, and I actually it cools it down a little bit so I can get more smoke on them. Because if I just do them dry, they'll cook kind of quick, and I like to extend that process a little bit by and get more smoke on it, and it just kind of keeps it moist. But it's to extend it and get more smoke on it and sweeten it up a little bit. Yeah. So
great, man. And then seasoning time, and then go throw it in the thing. S&P, it's all good. As far as barbecue sauce goes, do you have a recipe that you've fine-tuned? Do you have a particular barbecue sauce that's like a go-to for you? What would you recommend for a sauce to top it off?
I mean, you can find your favorite, like, you don't have to make everything from scratch. You can figure out your favorite sauce or whatever, and there's plenty of good sauces depending on where you live, but I fine-tuned a couple of them. So I basically just live on YouTube, and I look through all the videos, or whatever. I look through a bunch of videos, and I pick and choose what I like, and then I combine that with any recipe books that I have, and then you come out with something good. But just picking and choosing your ingredients. I do a mustard-based sauce and then a regular traditional style.
Love mustard
sauce that I actually make with our Austin Reserve gin here.
Nice.
But I was working right outside of right next to Revolution for a while, and I was using whiskey in my sauce, and I was like, hey, got this gin right here. Let's do it.
Yeah, why not a little gin, man? It's very flavorsome. There's all kinds of great stuff in there. Dude, I feel pretty good, man. Is there anything that we left out? Do you want to talk about like fat caps or placement of meat? Is there something that we didn't cover?
Yeah, I think that one important thing is knowing when to wrap it, and knowing about certain, like, the way meat acts and just different cuts, and knowing the temperatures, and knowing when to pull it, not only knowing temperatures, but knowing like certain tests of tenderness, and just knowing that like it doesn't always correlate with temperature. You're gonna have to be patient. You're gonna have to feel it out and have that good touch, and just like know how to actually like diagnose it and be like, hey, is this actually, like, it's at 205. The brisket, I pull them at 205 usually, but sometimes it's like, hey, this one's not tender enough yet, and it doesn't feel like it's right. So sometimes I'll just leave it on for a little longer. But
Yeah,
I think just patience, attention to detail, and you got to just be like, you got to be passionate about it, or else it's gonna.
We're just gonna get bored.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't stick it in there with wrapped in foil. You want it to absorb some of that smoke. So, at what hour do you take your meat off and wrap it in foil so that it kind of slow cooks the rest of the way out?
It's not really hour. It's like so there's something with every piece of meat, every big hunk of meat in barbecue. If you're cooking at 250, slow and low, there's something called a stall. So your internal temperature will go up, and then it'll just plateau out for sometimes hours. And what's happening there is it can't get any hotter at that temperature without it losing more moisture. So basically, you're waiting for it to dry out unless you do something about it, which is wrap it. So around 155, 160 is where I usually wrap. I check the meat and see the internal temperature, and if I like the color on it, around 155, 160, I'll wrap it up, because I don't want to lose any more moisture. I will sacrifice a little bit if it helps the bark and helps the appearance and all that, but you really want to just note that stall and cut it off as soon as you can, because once you wrap it, it's going to shoot through that plateau without losing moisture. Yeah. We'll still lose some, but it's going to hold in all that, and you're kind of just like steaming it a little bit at that point.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like, it's about halfway through what I do. Like, it's about halfway to, 2/3 of the way through the cook is when you wrap it.
Cool. Yeah. Good to know, man. Good to know.
Yeah.
In light of the podcast, holding true to the tradition, have you ever pooped your pants? Have you ever had an accidente, a little pooparoo?
Yeah, poop my pants, dude.
Poop your pants, or do you know a story of someone else that if you know someone that
it's been a while since I pooped my pants, man.
That's a good thing.
What?
Not sometimes that's a good thing. That's always a good thing when it's been a while.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
It's been a while. I've had some close calls, man. I had this whole gluten thing, so I can't eat gluten.
Oh, you can't?
It screws with me.
I didn't know that. Oh, you got plenty of
poop. So, I mean, there's certain things that feel like farts that aren't.
Absolutely, yeah.
I usually catch them in time before the catastrophe, but
That's the thing. If you've got like some sort of sensitivity to, like, if you've got a existing gut condition, you get pretty good at knowing, like, oh, my gut's feeling pretty uneasy right now. So yeah. Good on you.
Yeah, you're not pushing full force.
Yeah.
You're just you're like, wait, is it a fart? Maybe.
Let me assess the situation. Maybe not. This could be bad. Cool, man. Bad. That's great. That counts. That counts as a poop story. Well, dude,
I mean,
thank
it's just
you.
Chronic close calls. Chronic close calls.
Not a story. They just chronic close calls.
Yeah.
You did great as always, man. Thanks for giving me some insight. That's it for us, and play us out, Shitty Ukulele. It's good
Thanks
to
for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Oh Lord, I'm blasting us out. Yeah, thanks for coming on, man, and doing the show again. Good.
Yeah, you need to come up here or down here and do some barbecue and have some barbecue with me, man.
Man, I know. I meant that when I said like, oh, the only thing that I miss in Texas is the barbecue.
Yeah.
The heat.
What?
You
You don't.